back at it, and we took a little hiatus because I moved from one state to another again, and so hence the super bland background. But that's where we're at right now, and hopefully I can get that back in and at it soon. But I need a little more time for that. However, we are here for a jumbo version of true crime because so much has happened while I've been gone. As we know, we're doing a little rebrand with Tailgate update, and so for right now, it's just going to be me doing the true crime segment. It could stay that way. I do still plan on having guests who love true crime as much as I do, but the boys are out until they learn to love it. Just kidding, but they are out. So it'll be true crime with just Julie for a minute with the occasional guest, for sure. So we have a lot of catching up to do. So yeah, let's go. OJ Simpson, he's dead, and I'm filming this on Thursday, so he's dead today, and still processing that. To me, he's the icon of the intersection between football and true crime, and he's the epitome of true crime meets the gridiron, which is my original kind of slogan. For good or for worse, that is him to me, and there's something really important about that and my interest in the intersection between sports and true crime and stuff. Did anyone even know he had cancer? I just don't really know how to feel about it, other than there's something weirdly comforting about having him still be there, like tweeting away about all the true crime cases that were going on currently. So it's kind of weird not to have him around. So we're gonna start this out on a comical note because that dies quickly. This week, unfortunately, there's a lot of children involved, and it's just really, really dark. So I bleach warning. So the citizens' arrest on the hot dog. Fans are not having Pittsburgh Pirates fans are just not into the new hot dogs that they have on game days. And looking at this thing, I can understand their emotions on that. Fans are throwing up the red flag on the new dogs. This is called the Renegade recipe. It boasts of a hot dog covered in pot roast, mini pierogies, pickles, and onions. And yeah, so we're gonna do a citizen's arrest on this hot dog.
Yeah, right. You have the right to remain an attorney.
Chase and Bradford. He is. We're just gonna jump right in after the hot dog and OJ. These are like the current cases we haven't discussed yet that have come out, and so not the updates. So we're just kind of gonna talk about each person individual. Chase and Bradford. He's a former MLB pitcher, probation officer, and police academy graduate for one day, until he was arrested for a drunk driving incident on March 22nd. He admitted to day drinking and night timing 5 to 6 beers before hitting the road and being arrested at 10:23 p.m. That is a dad who's like, it is late by 10. He barely blew over the legal limit, 0.104, which makes his crazy driving quite the feat. He was swerving, hitting medians, and driving up on a curve in the road. He was fired from the Nevada police gig one day after the arrest and 2 days after graduating from the police academy. So that takes effort. The San Jose Sharks have a actual abuse situation that's like really tragic, and I have a nephew who's 13, so some of these upcoming cases that we're going to discuss are just like really hitting home for me, and I am feeling things I'm not going to express because yeah. Anyway, get your millstones ready. That's a biblical reference. If you know, you know. The company that owns the San Jose Sharks is under hot water after a lawsuit was filed earlier this last month in the case involving a coach who was there for 6 years, Kevin Whitmer. The former coach was grooming a 12-year-old boy as of 2021 and assaulted him several times, specifically while being alone in the locker room. A program supervisor allegedly alerted the parent company that Whitmer was breaking the locker room rules, but they didn't do anything about it, and the supervisor was fired for an unknown reason. In November of 2023, Whitmer was arrested in San Jose for lewd and lascivious acts with a minor and possession of CSAM, also formerly known as CP. Look it up if you don't know. I mean, don't look that up. I just mean the terms, just the terms. Okay. Oh, I'm so tired. Okay. I'm tired of crime, is what I'm tired of. Rashi Rice. Y'all heard about this. And a warrant has been issued for Rice by Dallas police on Wednesday of this week. Allegedly, Rice was speed racing with a 21-year-old, Theodore Knox. He was facing similar charges. They were racing on March 30th in Dallas, Texas. And Rice's attorney has confirmed that Rice was driving the Lamborghini involved in the crash around 6:25 p.m. on the 30th. While allegedly racing, the drivers lost control. Rice's vehicle hit a center median wall, which created a chain reaction collision that involved Rice, Knox, and then 4 other vehicles. Both men ran from the scene afterwards and didn't check to see if anyone was okay, if everybody was okay. Thankfully for them and any future charges, everybody pretty much was. 2 of the drivers only had minor injuries and were treated by EMS on site, and then 2 went to the hospital for minor injuries. But as far as I know, nothing severe. I lost quite a few people I knew in my hometown from racing cars, and I mean, these guys are really young. They were younger, the people that I knew, and it's just a really tragic way to go that does not need to happen. And so I just really encourage people, let this be a lesson. It doesn't matter if you're not drinking, because there's no mention of drinking here. It just don't race unless you're in an area where that's designated. Get on a Formula One kick or something. Oh, I did that the whole time with the shark, but anyways, Rice. This next story is also makes me want to punch walls. But there's some semblance of sweet justice at the same time. So anyway, it's a long one, so bear with me. It's really hard to cover these kind of cases. But a tangled web the Jaguar Jumbotron hacker weaved. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they hired contractor Samuel Arthur Simpson in 2013 to work on a new video board network installation and later to operate the Jumbotron. But they decided to not renew his contract in 2018 after finding out he was an SO for what he did to a 14-year-old boy in Alabama. And to which I said, did y'all not do a background check? Anyway. Before Arthur left, he installed a remote access software. This is getting kind of Josh Duggery for me. I don't really know that much about technology, but yeah, so he put remote access software in a spare server that was in the server room so he could hack the Jumbotron from afar, which he did for 3 games in 2018, if y'all remember that. The spare server was found, and the FBI tracked down Thompson by collecting network info on the hacker. They found his house, and they secured devices, a phone, tablet, and laptops that had all been used to access the Jumbotron server. And they also found a firearm, which Thompson wasn't allowed to have because he was a felon from what he did to that poor little boy. The FBI, while looking at these devices that had been used to access the Jumbotron, they found, and this is where there's kind of a justice, because he was mad that he got fired, but then he used the devices that he had CSAM on. And so they were able to find that. Now he's going to be in the slammy for a really long time. So it's like, guess he probably wasn't expecting that. Anyway, the FBI found thousands of images and hundreds of videos of child actual abuse. I'm supposed to say that word. Sorry, YouTube. Some of it had been produced up to a month before, depicting children that had been in his care and his custody. Thompson fled to the Philippines after his devices were seized because he knew it was going to go down. The Philippines deported him back to America in early 2020. And as of March 26th, a court case happened. And then as of March 26th of this year, Arthur received 220 years in prison. So not enough, but y'all heard about Terrell Suggs, I'm assuming. Starbucks can make us all feel a little spicy, especially with the new lavender. That come between me and the lavender and see what happens. Apparently, Suggs, feels similarly, but he did take things a little far. He's currently facing assault and an offense against public order charges based on a March 10th road rage incident. Terrell was arrested this past Tuesday, and he made his court appearance on Wednesday. The judge is reported to have ordered supervised release for the former NFL player, which makes sense. Allegedly, on March 10th, Suggs reversed his vehicle in a Starbucks drive-thru and hit another car. The two vehicles, they got into it, and allegedly Terrell showed a hand firearm and threatened to kill the man he was arguing with. Suggs released a statement significantly downplaying the whole incident. And yeah, well, I'm sure we'll hear about it. I'm sure they have plenty of cameras in the Starbucks drive-thru because, again, Starbucks makes us spicy. So, segueing here into college ball, Devondre Sweat. Have you all heard about this one? He's arrested last week on DWI charges. In the early hours of Sunday morning in Austin, Texas, Sweat was actually rear-ended by another car, and who was also a Texas Longhorn player. The police arrived, and for some reason, they were able to ascertain that he appeared to be under the influence. And even though he was the one who got hit, he failed the sobriety test that was given, and I'm sure there's some more information there that would make that whole situation make sense that we don't know yet, like why he was the one tested, what made them think he was drunk when he was the one who got hit, all that good stuff. But I'm sure we'll find out. The other driver was not arrested and was let go. However, both gentlemen are no longer on the roster. So, swift justice. Well, I don't know if it's justice, but swift action in Texas. Trevor Etienne, the Georgia Bulldog, was also arrested and released in the early morning hours of Sunday. What is going on Sunday, March 24th, for 4 misdemeanor charges, including driving under the influence. He's also charged with reckless driving, swerving, and putting something on his car that would obstruct, reduce the visibility of the window or windshield. He was bonded at $1,883, and that is all we know about him at this time. Tylan Rogers. Things are not going well in my in my hometown of Seattle-ish. I mean, definitely in Seattle, but I was from nearby. 18-year-old Tyan was arrested last Friday and was charged this Tuesday with second-degree rap and third-degree rap with a bond of $150,000 for each case, so $300,000. Rogers played 2 games for the team that UW after at least one allegation was made known to the University of Rap. So UW has a lot to explain for that, obviously. And there's 2 separate incidents in October and November of 2023. And he hadn't even been in the state for a full year. This kid is 18. It's Thailand. Anyway, we'll follow this one. Premier League of Shame. Shame. So recent research explored which Premier League team had the most unruly fan base. I hope they don't do this for the NFL. And it's based on arrests and bannings because they ban fans a lot. Um, West Ham United had the most fan arrests during games in one season. They had 27, mostly for public disorder, um, and with 69% occurring at a home game. Manchester United is a close second with 20 arrests, primarily for violent disorder, with 49% occurring at home, meaning they're more feisty away from home. Manchester United has the most fans banned this season with 69 bans, and Millwall was second with 66 banned fans. And typical things fans are banned for is violence, drunk shenanigans, and pitch invasions. But this season, the possession of coke and not the drink, was added to the list. So, Angel D. Maria, this is crazy to me. Late last month, Angel here, his family received death threats, in his hometown of Argentina. Di Maria mentioned coming back and playing for his team, in his hometown. The team's called Rosario Central. Apparently, they would prefer, Rosario residents would prefer for him not to do that and instead continue to play as a winger for Beneficia in Portugal, or what he's doing right now, which is touring the US with the Argentina team. Apparently the mere mention of saying that he might come back and play for his home team had death threats sent to his family. So that's really something. A similar thing happened to Messi, who's also from Rosario, last year when a store operated by his relative was shot at. And they left a message, Messi, we're waiting for you. So he seems to probably also not going to want to come back and play for Rosario Central either. So, wow. Ben Gordon is there we go. Former NBA guard Ben Gordon had a moment at a Connecticut juice shop on Tuesday this week around 10 a.m. It's almost unbelievable. Allegedly an employee called 911 because Gordon here was acting bizarre, aggressively, and displayed a knife while making a threat. All over not wanting to pay for a cup of juice, I guess. Gordon did not comply when the cops asked him to put his hands against the wall, but minimal force was required to detain him, so that's always a positive. Ben had a knife in the front pocket of his pants, and he had a stun gun and brass knuckles in his backpack. Yeah, things escalated when he didn't want to pay for the juice, and they, thank God the police got there when they did. Gordon was brought to the hospital for a mental health evaluation, which is probably really helpful. At the tail end of that, he was arrested and then he's released it on bond posted by his family. So hopefully he can get the help that he needs. How wild. It's probably like a high school kid working at the juice shop and he's like, I don't even know what to do right now. So, but I'm glad the police recognized that it was a mental health concern and was willing to address that. So that's really great and something we should be doing all the time. So go Connecticut. Utah women's basketball team, this is kind of wild. So they experienced some racism, although as a Washington native, thinking that Coeur d'Alene, Idaho is racist is not a surprise, but anyway. The city has a history. So they experienced some racism during March Madness on March 26th, when they were in Coeur d'Alene. They were there because there's no room at the hotel that was closer to the NCAA tournament, so they stayed there instead. And that didn't go well because allegedly on the way they were eating dinner on the 26th, and in the way into the restaurant, a man drove by in a truck, revved the engine, and called them someone or the group the N-word. And then when they were leaving the restaurant, there was two men in trucks who drove by and shouted the same racial slur at the group. Um, the Idaho police is investigating because, I mean, just think how scary that is. You can't even leave a restaurant or go in without being called that, and who knows if it could escalate in this world. I mean, come on. Um, the NCAA did decide to move the team closer to the tournament despite that one hotel being full, because they didn't want any more of that. So maybe they should have done that in the first place, but at the same time, Coeur d'Alene could also enter into the 21st century. So, you know, maybe this is for the best, but Brendan Paul, did he somehow manage to find his way onto this podcast? Because his behavior knows no bounds. So apparently this guy here is his alleged drug mule. He was a collegiate basketball player for 4 years at Syracuse. I mean, 2 years at Syracuse and then another 2 years at Fairmont State University in West Virginia. And he was arrested on March 26th with one charge of possession of suspected coke, and again not the beverage, and one of possessing Schmeed candy. Only in Florida is that arrestable. And I'm like, what kind of mule is that? But anyway, allegedly Paul would carry Diddy's firearms and drugs, according to a lawsuit filed in February. Diddy does deny this, or he denied everything in the lawsuit, not just Brendan Paul specifically. And it's like the ones you would never suspect, because I just cannot. I don't know. I just don't see like firearm carrier and drug mule, but you know, Jon Porter. Um, I just wrote his name wrong in my notes, so that's what the pause was. Raptors Jon Porter, brother of Nuggets Michael Porter Jr. is in the hot seat for potential betting irregularities, and this one is kind of interesting. Jonte has not played since the investigation opened last month. Adam Silver is willing and ready to throw the book at him, like banishment from the league, which I wonder if that's similar to like what suspension looks like for Draymond Green. I don't know. If he's found guilty. I just mean, like, is it only going to be a banishment that lasts a month after therapy, or like a real banishment? In two Raptors games this year, there was increased betting interest on the under for several prop bet supporters. All that hit after he left the game early, each a few minutes in. Allegedly, there's multiple accounts betting 10 to 20K on those specific prop bets. So it's almost like they knew. So, yeah, we will absolutely be following this one. Ben McLemore, former NBA guard. What is with the NBA guards this week? Former ones. McLemore was arrested on Tuesday, but not for anything to do with juice. Something far worse. For alleged actual assault on a woman in 2021 when he was still playing for the Portland Trailblazers. He's arrested at the Portland airport after flying back from Spain, where he's been playing professionally. He's facing one count of first-degree rap, first-degree unlawful actual penetration, and 2 counts of second-degree actual abuse. In February, an Oregon grand jury heard evidence on this case. I know how to pronounce all of the counties that we're discussing in Oregon, but they're rural and nobody will ever remember them anyway, and they're really hard to say. So I'll just say that a Oregon grand jury heard the evidence on the case, and they issued an indictment and an arrest warrant, and then he was just arrested because he just came back from Spain. He's currently out, was released on $500,000 bond as of Wednesday. So we will be following that. Now we're going to just update some cases we've already discussed. Ginger Spice here, her husband, Christian Horner, Mm. So this is kind of wild. The woman who filed the HR claims that we've been discussing for Christian Horner's alleged problematic behavior in the workplace, the woman who was suspended, is allegedly back to work on an interim basis. This is also the same lady who the steamy text that they were allegedly sharing was leaked by someone. Um, and recently we also learned that this is a woman who's been Christian's personal assistant for 15 years. And I'm thinking, this is how she gets treated. I'm like, Formula One really has to make a point here, because if they don't worry on about optics and like what this actually is and not just what the old boys club is supporting, um, they're gonna be sending a message to female fans. Not just Red Bull, but Formula One in general, if this isn't addressed, that they don't give a crap about us. So I'm looking forward to how they handle this. The eyes are on you. Um, all right. So Luis Rubiales, we did not know that he was going to be such a hot topic when we first started discussing him. But here he is. He's living in the hot water. He hasn't been out of it for a really long time. He's potentially facing up to 2.5 years for the unconsensual kiss of Jenny Hermosa at the World Cup. Um, love that. If you think that that's too harsh, then maybe just worry about keeping you and yours mouths to themselves, and you won't have to worry about it. So there's that. Louise, sorry, was also arrested for the other thing that we've been discussing. He was arrested at the Madrid airport in the corruption investigation. He was arrested last week after his Granada home was raided. Before that, we discussed it. He is scheduled to appear before a magistrate, which is a judge with the cool wig, on April 29th regarding alleged irregular betting, regular contracts, a lot of irregular things during Rubiales' tenure at the Royal Spanish Football Federation. So we will definitely be keeping up on that. So Leicester City here, concerns are rising regarding their finances, because we found out that they lost just under 90 million pounds during the 2022-2023 season. Will they face a point deduction next season? We still don't know. Leicester's chairman, not even going to try to pronounce that last name, assures us that the club's finances are secure. So I feel really great about that. Says no one ever. See here, Chandler Jones. So nothing bad here. Just bringing up that the no contact order related to the DV case from last year. For Chandler, that he violated twice last year, that the mother of his child had put against him after the DV incident last year, has been extended to April 29th. It was set to expire on the 1st, and so at the end of April they'll be revisiting that. Jack Jones still has hard feelings against the Patriots, apparently. I understand. I still remember the flat balls as a Seahawks fan, so we together on this one. He had some clapbacks for fans that I personally like, and 100% agree with. So he said, "Stop acting like y'all run the world and players don't fuck up. Players fuck up, and y'all don't run the world." So a little redundant, but let me see a fan win a game in the NFL. Amen. Acting like they can do better than any football player on any roster. I know I can't. He also pointed out that they should allow players time and support to develop. When discussing Mac Jones, which cannot agree more. When did that not become a thing? When we were just like throwing them out to the wolves, like they're just supposed to know how to play directly out of college. So Jack Jones and I are agreeing on this one. So Tyreek Hill, we didn't discuss this when it happened, because frankly, Tyreek has a full true crime roster in his own. So this one kind of fell under the radar, but we got it back. Things got spicy in Atlanta last month at a Kevin Hart comedy gig. I don't know if y'all heard about this one. So a woman allegedly grabbed Hill, which is a bold choice, saying he was sitting in a seat that she had paid for at the the comedy event. Tyreek had more restraint than I would have, okay, saying he didn't take the seat and then he got out of it and left. The woman started traded heated words with some of Hill's friends who was in the group with him. The handsy lady then shoved someone else in his group. Security jumped in and police arrived and did put the woman and her male companion in handcuffs, but Tyreek's group declined pressing any charges and everybody was released. So I appreciate the poise and the restraint, Tyreek. Love that. If we can just do that like all the time, you won't even be on this segment anymore. But I have a little note to his friends that they need to show restraint, especially when Tyreek has the presence of mind to do that. People would love a lawsuit over a dispute with him because he has a lot of money. So just like be above board, you know, especially when he is. Patrick Mahomes Sr. here. He's been indicted in Texas on the charges of a felony DWI. He's officially charged at the end of March, and he's facing up to 10 years in prison. So, a little progress there. The KC parade shootings, still kind of not a whole lot happening other than y'all remember I discussed Denton, let me see here, Loudermill. I know we've covered a lot of things, so Denton Loudermill was accused of being a shooter at the parade because he was in handcuffs. Because apparently he was going too slow when the police were trying to evacuate the area, so they handcuffed him and put him on a curb. And like people were taking like a bunch of pictures of him, just like assuming that he was involved in the shooting, which I understand, but also like, maybe be a little careful on what you start to say. But U.S. Rep Tim Burchett of Tennessee was not. So Burchett shared images on his social media of Loudermill accusing him of being an illegal alien, which if you look at Loudermill is interesting. And calling him one of the shooters. Denton, yeah, and as we discussed, he's attaining the handcuffs. Not wise, especially when you have a platform of that size to say that. Unsubstantiated, but here we are. Loudermill wasn't charged with anything. He's just too slow. I don't know. Yeah, I guess you'd have to be there to understand getting handcuffed for that. But the tweet was deleted by Burchett, but then there's a screenshot that can still be seen on his Twitter in a different post. So it's like not deleted. Anyway, Denton said he received death threats in response to Burchett's post and is requesting $75,000 in a lawsuit. So, Cameron Sutton, as we discussed before, has finally turned himself in. That was on March 31st. He is no longer a bear. He was never a bear. He was no longer a lion. Yeah, and as a refresher, he ran after allegedly battering the mother of his child. So he was facing a felony, but for some reason now is only facing a misdemeanor battery and is given what seems to be getting kudos for turning himself in despite the fact that he was on the run for weeks. So I don't know. Trey Holly, we've been discussing him. Good times for Trey. He has been proclaiming his innocence since he turned himself in on February 19th. And the second-degree murder charges have been exchanged for one felony count of illegal use of a weapon. So that's major downgrade in charges and like super awesome for him. Just, personally. And he's still suspended by LSU, but there's that. So Blaze Taylor here, really intriguing guy. I will be doing a deep dive into his psyche at some point. As a quick reminder about his little situation, he allegedly poisoned his pregnant ex in her apartment, that left the mom and fetus deceased. The grand jury said there's sufficient evidence for him to head to trial, and allegedly he's facing life without parole in Tennessee. So that's what they're pursuing. So we'll absolutely be keeping an eye on this case. Hockey. So we got Corey Perry here. I'm gonna start calling him the Draymond Green of the NHL, or maybe Draymond Green is the Corey Perry of the NBA. Either way, Perry shared a dispute with his own teammate. Granted, he didn't get physical like somebody else, but like concept still there, you know. Evander Kane last Saturday, he like they were exchanging like some pretty heated words, and a referee came over. So, and to this I say he needs someone else to come for when he don't have Patrick Waugh to mess with. Check out my article on the Fart Ball. That one time between Corey Perry and Patrick Waugh. Yes, I am shamelessly plugging that beautiful article I did. Martin Fork is a good reminder that you can kick someone in the face with your skate and have them bleeding everywhere. And right after the whole Adam Johnson incident, and you can still get signed on by the NHL the same year if you're desperate enough. So keeping it classy, Detroit Wings. Red Wings, we love that. Okay, so the Canadian Junior Hockey League 5. We know that they're facing a jury trial, but now we know that it's likely not going to happen until 2025. It was scheduled for December of 2024, but the 11-minute session this last Tuesday led to the scheduling of pretrial motions starting November 25th of this year until December 13th of this year. So it's highly likely that the pretrial motions would end and the case would start within the same month. Yep, so we'll just keep an eye on that. Sometimes justice moves slow. So the Pittsburgh Penguins, I can't get any sports right. The Pittsburgh Penguins, ignore the Steelers. Okay, I'm an NFL fan primarily. All right. Okay. The Pittsburgh Penguin bobbleheads have been located. The Yammer Yager bobbleheads were found on March 26th. The truckloads that were originally stolen were found and were scheduled out to be handed out last weekend. All we know about this little scandal is that the bobbleheads were temporarily stolen in California. So I think you can probably see yep, there's my kitty. Okay. Brad Aldrich, the face nobody ever wants to see. Former Blackhawks head coach Joel Quenneville has opened up a bit on Tuesday about Aldrich and the recent actual assault lawsuits coming out. He was on a podcast when he got all loose-lipped about things and said nothing. So he pretty much doubled down that he had no idea and that he stayed in his lane at the time. So when they said it was handled, it was handled. So I'm like, cool story, bro. We really needed a podcast for that. Okay, baseball. So as we know, he had the whole DV incident, and we've been waiting. Is he going to get a felony? No, he's going to get misdemeanors. And LA finally told us what that was this week. He's facing 5 charges after his September DV arrest. Finally, he's facing 1 count of spousal battery, 2 counts of domestic battery involving a dating relationship, which is a weird technicality. Is it a spouse? Is it a dating relationship? Does it matter? Anyway, 1 count of false imprisonment, 1 count of assault. And he's going to be in court on May 2nd for his arraignment. He's currently a free agent, and again, I'm going to highlight that he's the only individual who has been suspended twice under league's new DV policy that was put in place, I believe, in 2015. So that is weighing a record for all the wrong reasons, if we ever needed an example of that. So some breaking news about Shohei Otani's situation. As of today, I took Japanese in high school too. Okay. Ipei Mizuhara is facing federal bank fraud charges. He allegedly stole up to or around $16 million from Otani's account to pay off illegal gambling debt. Prosecutors say that Otani didn't authorize any transactions and have depicted him as a victim. Muzahara admitted to the bookie involved with the whole situation, the illegal gambling via text, that he was stealing the money. It's kind of interesting because it makes perfect sense that he was there in 2018 when Shohei opened the account because he needed the translator, but that also meant that Mizahara had access to like all of his banking information, which Otani knew, but you wouldn't assume that would go down. The translator also would call the bank pretending to be Otani, and they never really picked up on that. So like maybe they should work on that. But anyway, and Muzahara is supposed to turn himself in to authorities on Friday. And so we will definitely continue to follow this, but I feel really bad for Otani because the evidence so far is sort of seeming like he got fleeced, and not that he was in on it. And what an unfair situation, because you need to be able to trust your translator. Anyway, Wander Franco, he's been placed on administrative leave by the Tampa Bay Rays as of 2 weeks ago. And a judge has rejected a week ago on April 4th that Wander's attorney's request that Franco's monthly check-ins, he has to check in every month on the 30th. The attorney wanted those to stop, and the judge said, nah, bruh, he's still got to check in every month. Franco also wanted his 2 million Dominican pesos back, which would be about $34,000 in American money. He wanted his bond back. And that didn't appear to happen either. So we are just kind of patiently waiting for justice to happen there. Rajon Rondo has officially retired via the All That Smoke podcast last week. He hasn't actually played since 2021 and the 2021-2022 season, but he finally decided to officially call it quits. So I wonder if it was anything to do with the things that put him in this podcast in the first place. But we will follow those charges. Chance Camache, somehow I knew this was gonna happen, but he is pleading not guilty despite flapping his gums to the police since literal day one about the whole like murdering that poor girl situation. I cannot wait to see how his lawyers will attempt to twist this one around because he told them literally everything. But I mean, I guess he's got to try it. And like the Pittsburgh Steelers, I can't seem to remember which sport I'm talking about. So, despite forgetting that basketball and baseball are not the same sport, apparently, we will discuss the Jackie Robinson statue theft here because that makes sense. We discussed previously that Ricky Alderette was arrested for stealing and destroying the statue. He's going to be back in court for those charges on April 19th. There's no additional arrests, which to me is upsetting because if you take one look at Ricky, you know he was not the mastermind, in my opinion, of this whole situation. And I'm almost certain that the camera footage had more than one person, but I don't think any person would be able to lift the statue. I don't know. It just seemed like a multi-man scenario or woman. So, I'm really hoping that the Wichita police keep up with this and, like, don't put it all on Ricky, because I just can't foresee that. His story included a few other people, and I think that's probably fairly accurate. But we will see. He's heading he's gonna get in trouble, so we'll just keep following that. And that is all, folks. We covered a lot, and so in the future, because we'll now be releasing this podcast weekly again, it won't be so dense, but y'all love to hear me, so I know y'all are fine and got your notebooks out so we can keep up with all these cases because it is wild out here, and as OJ would say, or can't say, yeah, I don't know. We can all appreciate the intersection between sports and true crime, but he really helped solidify. So, RIP, I think. I don't even know. All right. See y'all next week. Bye.